Well, hello everyone. Thank you for watching today, and I want to welcome all of our new viewers and partners. I'm believing God for 3,000 partners. Love to have them before Pentecost. It's on the way to join me in watching and praying for this nation. The river of corruption and abuse of power runs deep and wide in our nation's capital. We are bombarded with lies, distortion, immorality, disinformation that deliberately misleads the people when compared to the U.S. Constitution. It's actually the supreme law of the land. We find federal agencies claim power over the states. Who ever heard of such a thing? We find both parties refusing to enforce the laws as mandated by our Constitution, and we are seeing the federal agencies that have spent or helped spend $17.5 trillion in just the last 4 years. The Congress had nothing to say about it, completely just went along with it, did nothing, and even with the $17.5 trillion, there's no roads, no bridges, no infrastructure. The needs of America have taken back seats to Muslim countries, to issues and agendas that have nothing to do with anything but a lot of mist and a lot of hype. But we are paying a dear price, and that's why I'm doing the program today. I want you to understand this Constitution. I want you to get it. I want you to get in agreement with it and our founding fathers, and we're going to see some major changes. We're recruiting Christian conservatives for the U.S. Constitution. So I'm asking you right now, will you join me? Will you find out the facts of what's really going on and help me have an organization, a movement of Christian conservatives for the United States Constitution? We're going to put a watch on these agencies. We're going to put a watch on Congress, who act like celebrities traveling around the world on our tax dollars. And when it comes time to seeing the work they've done, they have failed in their task. Stay tuned. I want you to call your friends, tell them Faye is on. It's once again, we are here pulling down strongholds, and we need you to stand with us. I'm Faye Hardin, and this is
Insight USA with Faye Hardin, author, teacher, prayer warrior. Merging prayer and patriotism. Founder of the National Prayer Network Intercessors with Insight and the much sought after weekly prayer bulletin Faye's Facts. Faye is a Christian activist dedicated to informing, educating, and empowering Christians to not only pray for America, but to understand the issues of the day, threatening our religious freedoms, families, finances, national security, natural energy, and senior citizens.
Well, I'm holding in my hand so many notes that I can never get them on this program. I'm actually going to be doing a fact sheet on some of the issues that we are addressing on our program. Our Faith Facts, which is our weekly prayer bulletin, our website, insightUSA.us, along with the television ministry, and our Facebook is going to be coordinated really soon. I have 4 pages of questions we need to be asking the people we've elected to serve in our government. They're just absolutely unprecedented questions that nobody else is asking, and it's also exposing what is really going on behind the scenes that's indebted this nation and brought us to a nation of poverty. This is not America. It's not the future. The federal agencies are usurping power that are not constitutional, but they're getting away with it because the Congress is not doing its job. Over every federal agency, there is a congressional oversight committee. I have researched these committees, and I have found them lacking. So today, I want you to join me. We're reaching millions of people 4 and 5 times a week. We're on new stations now. We're on new satellites now. So if you're watching me for the first time, please get on board. Our nation needs help. Will you write a check today and say, Faye, I'm going to be a $20 partner with you. I'm going to give $20 every month. I'll be one of your 3,000, not only to be supportive, but I'll also get your information, pray, and I want a constitution at no charge. We want to send you constitutions for your Sunday school class, for your churches, just for your Bible studies. We want you to hand out this book It is the truth. It's the rod of God for our nation's deliverance. Write me and let me hear from you. Well, I'm so glad you're with us today. We're going to merge prayer and patriotism in our program. It's a tremendous program that we're going to be giving you the facts on the Constitution and let you see exactly what is taking place that can be changed. But we are in a spiritual battle in this nation. It is a battle between good and evil. Satan wanted to replace God. He said, I'm going to go into the heavens, I'm going to make my throne above your throne. And this is what our government is trying to do. It is trying to replace God, replace truth, replace the creator of all mankind who promised us prosperity, health. And he said he's the one that gives the power to get wealth. It's been a subliminal move, and it started many years ago, but it has been a deliberate move to bring our Constitution subservient to an agenda by people who are trained, equipped to be radicals, rules for radicals. Their leader was Saul Alinsky, who dedicated his book, Rules for Radicals, to Lucifer. So you can see who the God of the chaos of this country is. The powers that's stealing and killing and destroying the lives of people in one of the most God-blessed nations and one of the wealthiest nations in the world. But we're being denied the wealth that God has put in our ground, gas, oil, coal. We're being denied access to jobs, to bank loans. And who's denying us of this? We've elected people that have a different concept of America, and they certainly have a different concept of who God is. So today I want to read you one of the most powerful prayers, because they're saying there's a separation between God and country, church and state, and they're ruling on the basis of the Communist Party, and they made up the rules, and they're enforcing them because we do not know our rights. That's why I'm offering you constitutions free. I want you to order them. I want you to read it. I want you to understand it. Get your friends to watch this program and get the insight that cannot be refuted. Our politicians need to know what the book says, and they need to know they're subservient to this book, whether they like it or not. We just need to enforce it. So today our prayer point of the week is from two different presidents. The first one is President James Madison. I want you to listen to how he dealt with the conquest, what he did, and how our nation was totally in tune with calling on the living God. Our leaders were. The British encroachments on American ships and property were increasing, and it was a result of the War of 1812. President James Madison, when these issues became prevalent, James Madison regularly called our nation to prayer and to fasting throughout the entire war, explaining on one of the occasions, he said, I do therefore recommend a day of prayer and fasting for the devout purposes, acknowledging the transgressions which might justly provoke the manifestations of his divine displeasure, of seeking his merciful forgiveness and his assistance in the great duties of repentance and amendments, and especially of offering fervent supplications that in the present season of calamity and war, that he would take the American people under his peculiar care and protection. That he, and he's talking about God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, would guide their public councils. That means guide their leaders, guide their senators, guide their congressmen, guide the president, guide the administrators, guide the first lady. That he would guide all the public councils, animate their patriotism, and bestow his blessings on their arms. That means on their guns. That means on the ability for them to fight a war, and that they would be able to be armed and ready for battle. Finally, that turning the hearts of our enemies from the violence and justice which sway their counsels against us. He would hasten a restoration of the blessings of peace. That's James Madison, President James Madison, asking God for his guidance. And President Buchanan also called on the nation to prayer and fasting, reminding the country in this hour of our calamity and peril, myth whom also we resort from relief, but the God of our fathers, his omnipotent arm, only can save us from the awful effects of our own crimes and follies, our own ingratitude and guilt towards our Heavenly Father. Let us then, with deep contrition and penitent sorrow, unite in humbling ourselves before the Most High and confessing our individual and national sins. Let him preserve our Constitution and our Union, the work of their hands, of the men actually who established this nation on the presence and the Bible, which is the Word of the living God. And he said for ages to come. I want you to pray this with me. I want you to see how far we've come from our founding fathers, our foundation, how suddenly Satan has come in and replaced God, replaced the Bible. He didn't just remove the Bible. He didn't just remove prayer. He just didn't remove the Ten Commandments. He didn't just remove our Bibles. He replaced them with a secular, humanistic, immoral, unprecedented liberty that would never have been allowed by our founding fathers. I need you to understand that God has given us a foundation of this nation. And I need for you to stand up and say, Faye, I'm going to stand up with you with your rebuilding the walls of America. We can do it, guys. I want you to see what exactly, how much you don't know about the Constitution, maybe how much you do know. My Facebook friends are just absolutely sending me the most wonderful information. They've been there before I have. They are giving me counsel. They're showing me that there have been people in this country fighting for our Constitution, but they are minimal. They don't get grants from the government. They don't get support from liberal movements. They don't have the Communist Party behind them. So their voices are mute, but that's going to change. But I want to ask you today, what do you really know about the Constitution? We have a true and false question. If you will call me with the answer, you can request a Constitution and we'll send it to you at no charge. We'll send you as many as you feel you can present to other people who will be interested in receiving them. So today our question is, the U.S. Senate, federal agents, the U.S. Senate, federal agencies, the President, the Justice Department, can write laws according to the Constitution. They can choose whether or not to enforce them. Is this true or false? I want to read it to you again. Let's go back, because we're seeing today these things happening. Does the Constitution allow the United States Senate, federal agencies, the President, and the Justice Department to write laws? Does the Constitution give them a choice of whether or not to enforce the laws of our land? True or false? Give me a call, write me, email me, and say, Faye, tell me what your answer is. And no matter what the answer is, just ask for a Constitution, and we'll let you know if your answer is accurate. It's so vital for as many people as possible to get your Constitution and read it. It'll open your eyes to the hijacking that is taking place in this nation by elected leaders who are not committed to complying with the supreme law of this land. Compare the laws passed on New Year's Day to tax the rich and the Affordable Care Act, the law that was passed, to the following. How does Congress really proceed in making laws? I'm bringing it straight from the book. How is a law made by the Congress? I want you to listen intently and find out just how far we've come from this book and how we're being so hoodwinked and hijacked because we have not taken a stand to make sure that people who vow to uphold it, vow to enforce our laws, vow to keep us safe from terrorist enemies, both domestic and foreign, have failed to do their job, but they're on full-time pay. They get travels. They get millions of dollars for staffs. They live like the rich and famous on our tax dollars, and they have no concern that what they're doing has absolutely is illegal, illicit, and can be questioned. And that's what we need to do. We need to build an army big enough that our questions are going to go to them, not because of a party, but because we see that we're fighting for this Constitution. I just want to share with you how a law is really made according to the Constitution. A member of the Congress, the House of Representatives actually, usually proposes that some other members, called a committee, shall consider whether it will not be proper to make a law for some particular matter. That means a few members of Congress, if their constituents call them up and say, you know, we need Jessica's law, we need to be protecting the innocent, we need our Congress to understand that we have a real problem here. Well, a few of the congressmen are supposed to get together, and they start talking about what they've been asked to do, and then they explain it to each other. And if a majority of the members think it will be best to consider it, that's the commission, that best to consider the matter, they order certain members to do so. These members or committees meet together, and they've considered the proposal. They've determined whether it's proper to advise the members of the House to make a law respecting it. They think it is, and so they put it down in writing. I want you to look at the steps. A committee meets. Then another committee decides, yes, I think we need to have the entire Congress involved. And so what they think the entire Congress should do is written by them. By them. They put it in writing, the words that they think is best to make. This writing is called a bill. And then they return to the full House, 435 members, both parties, and either in writing or by the word of mouth, declare what they have done. Not what they've hired somebody to do, not what these all of these organizations that are pushing an agenda in our country to destroy us have done. This is what they have just done individually. And they state the reasons for it. Such as a statement is called a committee's report. The bill is then read twice. The member who first proposed the matter now further proposes it. I want you to understand this. The bill has been reviewed twice by the Congress, by the members of the Congress, not hired staff, not organizations, not lawyers that'll come in and make it into something that will benefit them personally. They propose the matter, and now they further take it, or they move it, as they call it, that it is a bill to be considered by all the members of the Congress. If this is agreed to, the bill then is taken under consideration. Every member has an opportunity to propose such alterations in it as he pleases, and every member may give reasons why a law ought or ought not to be made. If any alterations are made, the bill as altered is written over again, and it's read a third time. Now, we have the biggest change in our nation with health care, the Affordable Care Act, or otherwise known as Obamacare. Look at what happened with Obamacare. Number one, it didn't originate in Congress. Number two, they never read it twice, and much less a third time. Most of them still haven't read it, and yet it is the law of the land. Doctors are shutting down hospitals. Doctors are resigning. Hospitals are shutting down. People in this country, corporations don't know what to go next. And I just want you to consider that when you see what the Constitution says must be done in order for a law to be made. So after the consideration is passed, that is finally agreed to, it is now it is not even now a law. By no means. The bill thus goes to the Senate. And it is sent there to the Senate, and there is, once again, it is considered. They read it. They understand it. And if the House thinks it proper and is further altered, it then returns back to the House, where it began. This is the Constitution. If this House disapproves of the alterations made by the Senate and sends the bill back, that the House may give up alterations. But if they will give them up, then a committee or conference is appointed. That is, certain members are sent from each house to meet together and try to bring the matter into such a form that both houses will agree to it. If they succeed and the House agrees, the bill is then copied. The copies are on parchment paper, they said then, and signed by the President and the Secretary of the Senate and by the Speaker and the Clerk of the House of Representatives. Is it now law? We have had this bill. We wrote it. We looked at it. We rewrote it. We looked at it again. We sent it to the Senate. They read it. They made suggestions. It goes back to its original form. And we read it again, and we decided. What's wrong with the picture in our government today? Just take a look. Just take a look. So then, once the House and the Senate have agreed after meeting together, understanding exactly what everybody's talking about, then they send it to the President. And if the President approves it, then it becomes law. If he disapproves, he is required to write why he does not approve it, all of his objections in writing, and he takes it back to the House where it began. And they take the journal of the President and they consider the bill once more. None of the members of Congress, not one of the bills that we mentioned in the beginning, not only did they not write them, they did not even read the Affordable Care Act. When they started, it had 2,500 pages. Today, it's got 20,000. Our Congress is on vacation again, traveling around the world at our expense, full-time pay, and we are being subjected to the greatest takeover of the greatest health care system in the world. Our Constitution has been sabotaged. It's been ignored. Federal agencies are usurping authority over the states. Unless God delivers us, we will not be the land of the free and the home of the brave much longer. You can look at the Gang of Eight, refusing to enforce our laws, both parties. But yet they're going to bring, with 70.5 million people in this country who can't find a job, they are on their spring break figuring out how to bring in another 40 million and put them in this country in the condition we're in, changing nothing. They are not allowed to do that according to the Constitution. Will you write me and get on board with me? God bless you.
We're pulling down strongholds in the name of the Lord. We're slaying our giants. We're using our sword. We're world overcomers by the blood of the Lamb. Our tongue is our weapon. We're taking the land with wisdom to guide us, and faith is our shield. Our weapons aren't carnal, because they are real. So come join God's army, be a part of His plan. We're more than conquerors, for in Christ we stand.
Faye is calling on 3,000 partners to join in her campaign to tear down the strongholds held over this nation, which were once blessed and protected by God. God's word says in Psalm 33:12, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." Do you believe that it's God's will for 66 million people in our nation to beg for bread daily simply because of their inability to support themselves? Think about it. Do you believe that millions of people who enter this nation illegally should be given benefits as a reward for breaking our laws, while our elected leaders disregard to enforce those same laws? Do you believe that it's God's will that 23 million people are unable to find work? Do you believe that it's God's will that companies of our nations be destroyed due to regulations and laws that are unconstitutional? Do you believe that America is jobless because there is no other way for us to go? Do you believe that it's God's will that Christians are now forced by law to help abort 55 million babies? Do you believe that we're in a spiritual battle and the devourer runs rampant? Faye and her friends believe that we should protect ourselves from politicians who refuse to uphold the Constitution. It's time to call on God and understand that His Word is our way out of bondage. America is a mission field, and Faye is dedicated to it. Psalm 94:16 asks, "Who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity?" Won't you stand and act today? You can join Faye right now in one of two ways. You can become a covenant partner for America to rebuild its foundation. Plant a $1,000 seed to help build the Capitol Hill Lighthouse with insight. Bring the power of the Pentecost to the nation's capital. Take this television ministry to every city and state in this nation live from Washington, D.C. Or become one of 3,000 Covenant Insight partners with a monthly pledge of $20 or more. Lighthouse partners receive the amazing Founder's Bible from signature historian David Barton, along with the much sought-after Faye's Facts, a prayer bulletin that leads thousands of intercessors weekly to pray specifically as united, focused, and informed prayer warriors for America's deliverance. Partners also will receive a free pocket-sized Constitution and a free bumper sticker, "Yeshua is Lord over America." Become a covenant partner with a pledge of $20 or more and receive your free pocket-sized Constitution, free bumper sticker, and weekly Faye's Facts, along with an Insight USA pin that Faye has prayed over to give you wisdom with financial matters as you write your checks. Please send your pledge to Insight USA, P.O. Box 917689, Longwood, Florida 32791. That's Insight USA, P.O. Box 917689, Longwood, Florida 32791.